Member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise to speak on the member for Oakville's motion regarding net neutrality in Canada. This is an important issue for all Canadians as we navigate through the complexity that is the digital marketplace. This debate has come to the fore due to the decisions made south of the border. But as all Canadians know, whatever happens with our American neighbors is likely to reverberate in Canada. Net neutrality is a principle that has been respected in Canada for quite some time. The CRTC has been proactive in enforcing the principles of net neutrality through a number of decisions. Canada has also had a robust debate over the merits of net neutrality amongst stakeholders, and it is important that we raise this issue in the House today. I am proud that we have a number of telecom companies and ISPs that provide first-class service across Canada. And this competition promotes innovation and ensures that consumers have a wide variety of choices and the power to make free decisions on what content they wish to access. And we can all marvel at the changes that have taken place in the digital sphere in the past decade alone. Former startups such as Amazon, Netflix, Facebook, and Google are now household names and impact our lives every day. And growing up, we had a VCR, then a DVD player, and now my generation is unlikely to have either, as we rely upon the internet through our handheld devices to provide us with media content. The explosion of content and the ease at which consumers can access it can be significantly attributed to our principled stand that internet content be shared at an equal speed. And without the equal opportunity to be a content creator on the internet, the diversity of choices would be significantly restrained to the detriment of startups and consumers. Now, net neutrality does not mean that Canadians have the right to view Netflix content at 100 megabytes per second wherever they may be. But what it does ensure, however, is that whatever content consumers wish to access will be provided at the same speed. And this is very important because, as you can imagine, the prospect of having one website slowed down in favor of another can have a dramatic impact on the success of that website and by extension that business, regardless of the quality of service provided by that business. For example, a travel page that has consistently provided a competitive price with great service may be at a massive disadvantage to a competitor sponsored by an ISP with preferential speeds, even though that competitor may provide consistently higher prices and poor service. Merely slowing down the time that it takes for a consumer to navigate a website can be the deciding factor in whether that service is used or not. And the implications of this slippery slope can be seen in the history of trusts in the 20th century. Steel and oil trusts with overwhelming market share have acted as monopolies, not merely in their own industries, but in any related industries such as transport and retail. And as our economy becomes increasingly digital, it quickly becomes apparent that allowing ISPs to have unfettered control of the speeds at which websites can be accessed will allow them to wield a disproportionate amount of power. And in the end, this will lead to less efficient outcomes, as consumers are forced to pay higher prices and companies with overwhelming control can get away with providing lower quality service. Now, as a conservative, one of my fundamental beliefs is that government must do all that it can to ensure that we have equality of opportunity in this country. Everyone should have the opportunity to succeed, and the government should stay out of picking winners and losers. That's the job of the free market. And when it comes to net neutrality, it may seem that the government is encroaching too far into the realm of the free market. But the government must ensure that free competition takes place in order to protect the integrity of the market. Net neutrality is one of those areas where the government, with minimal intervention, can ensure that consumers, entrepreneurs, and major companies operate on a playing field that is beneficial to all players, particularly startups and consumers. Now, taking a step back, it must be said that in Canada, we have not faced a significant challenge to the principle of net neutrality. It is not a law that is enshrined in the Telecommunications Act, nor the Broadcasting Act. And with that knowledge, I don't want any of my comments to malign the industry players who have done a great job of ensuring that Canadians have access to the latest digital innovations. But that being said, with the prospect of our American neighbors repealing net neutrality, I believe it is likely that major changes could have an effect on Canadians. With empowered consumers backed by responsible legislation and a healthy respect for the free market, Canada should not face a significant challenge to the principle of net neutrality. Any company that would attempt to slow down access to a website like Netflix in favor of their own provider would face a significant backlash that would hurt their brand more than benefit it. And it is that fear and that respect for consumers and respect for the principle that all players have an equal opportunity in the digital marketplace that will ensure the success of our digital companies. Their content and services should be delivered free of discrimination, and this will ensure that Canada maintains its status as a competitive jurisdiction. Now, my remarks have been primarily focused on the role of net neutrality and the role that it plays in the digital economy. Additionally, though, net neutrality is vital in preserving the free marketplace of ideas, which is one of the most powerful qualities of the internet. Canada has a strong record of protecting freedom of expression, and no government or business should be able to throttle the opinions and the views of its citizens. The internet must continue to be a forum of expression where people can freely voice their dissent and concerns. And fundamentally, supporting the principle of net neutrality and defending it from the possibility of significant challenges will have a positive impact on our economy and our society. Businesses, especially startups, will have the confidence knowing that they can invest in creating the best product or service without the fear that they will be effectively shut out of the marketplace. And this will ensure that the best companies can effectively compete with the major players, the kind of competition that is proven time and again to be the lifeblood of an efficient economy. And I know Canadians can be rest assured that our system respects net neutrality, and they can use internet services free from undue interference from ISPs and government regulations. You know, net neutrality isn't just about holding companies accountable. It's about holding government accountable as well. And by holding government to the same standards that we hold businesses when it comes to respecting consumer choices, we can ensure that Canada continues to be the free and competitive jurisdiction that it is today. And with that, I want to thank the member for Oakville who brought this motion forward. I think this is an important conversation to be having in this House, and all too often we take it for granted that the way of life and the services we are accustomed to will be available forever, and that is not the case. The price of freedom is constant vigilance, and although there does not appear to be a threat to net neutrality in Canada at this time, we must have these conversations so that we are ready to tackle the challenges we will inevitably face in the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Resuming